Hello and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to be talking about how I've found living in Perth or living in Australia as a whole so far. I've been here for 6 months so far. I spent 2 months in Sydney, or just under 2 months, and 4 months living in Perth. So I'm just going to go straight into the basics. Whilst I was in Sydney, I was waiting for my visa to come through, so that took about a month, less than a month to come through. So whilst I was waiting for my visa to come through, I made sure that I got my tax file number sorted out, which is what you need if you want to work in Australia. I made sure that I transferred any documentation that I needed for my 100 points of ID. This is a thing in Australia. If you want to get a rental, if you want to open a bank account, like some bank accounts, they need 100 points of ID, so that could be your passport, driver's license. Got my private medical healthcare insurance sorted out. I made sure I got an Australian line, so I went with Optus. It was the easiest option, and I didn't really shop around that much. Everyone in my family uses Optus, so I was like, that's the easiest option for me to go with. And then I opened a bank account. What I found, or what I've also seen from other people that talk about Australia, is CommBank was the easiest bank to sign up with, because one, you can sign up with CommBank when you're not in the country, and then you complete your registration in the bank. So once I got all my essentials sorted out, I was ready to go to Perth. Now Perth, it's different. I'm going to put it out there. This is my own opinion. No one come for me, please. Perth is different. Sydney is beautiful. Perth is beautiful. Sydney and the UK, I felt like there was a little bit more similarities, where it was a little bit busier. There was a lot more things to do. So once I got to Perth, I had 3 weeks of paid accommodation. I mentioned that in a previous video. So I didn't have to worry too much about housing. Yeah, let me tell you this, worry about housing. Like, this is the honest truth. Finding housing or a rental out here is difficult. There's a major housing crisis. The people I speak to, they tell me that it's because after COVID, WA was the first place to open their borders to other people. I have not validated those claims, but that's what I've been told by other people. So WA was the first place to open up their borders. A lot of people from the east moved to the west, making the demand for housing greater. Finding housing is difficult, so make sure that you set up your accounts for tenant app and domain. Real estate, if you want to get a rental. And a rental took me just under 2 months to find. I did go into sublet properties for those two or two less months. So I was in one place for 1 week. I was in this place, but in a different room, someone else's room, for about a month and a bit. And I feel like it's really, really nice where I'm staying, where I have a concierge 24 hours. There's security cameras everywhere. Gym, swimming pool, sauna, games room, relaxation. It's just perfect. So I came with 6,000 Australian dollars, which is about 3,000 Great British pounds. So that was okay for me to survive, because I knew that as soon as I got to WA, I was going to sort out all my paperwork, all my documentation for work. So I only went just a week and a half before I started work. What I have to say is cost of living is high out here. It does correlate with how much you get paid. For example, my rental property is 660 Australian dollars every week for a 1-bedroom apartment. It's got a massive balcony. Like I said before, we've got a concierge. We've got lovely amenities to use to help with relaxation. In the UK, I would never have been able to afford a place that is $660 or £300 or so per week. That was never a possibility for me. Whereas here, it's a possibility. I can still save money and still have something left over. So that's the one thing that I love about living out in Australia. Even though cost of living is high, you can survive. You can survive without killing yourself. Groceries, on the other hand, I bought 13 items yesterday. It went up to $100. All I can honestly say is I bought some beef, some chicken. They were organic, so yes, that's going to be a little bit more expensive. Eggs, milk, some ciabatta rolls, some fruit, and it all came to $100. That is a lot of money. Groceries are expensive here. Another thing to mention is there isn't a big selection of supermarkets that you can go to when you're doing your groceries. The main three that I know, or four that I know, would be Coles, Woolies, IGA being the most expensive, and I don't understand why it's the most expensive. Someone explain that to me, because I don't know why IGA is so expensive. Aldi is amazing, it's affordable. I don't have an Aldi nearby. I live in the city area and I have not seen an Aldi yet, but hopefully when I do start driving I can save some money by in my food from Aldi, because it's expensive. When it comes to getting around the place, people do say you definitely need a car because it's very spread out, but I've managed fine without it so far. Public transport is great within the city area. There is free CAT buses, which are called Central Area Transit buses. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them that you can go on. It's free of charge. All you have to do is have a smart rider. If you go to Perth, that is another recommendation. If you're going to rely on public transport, make sure you get your smart rider as like one of the first things you do, because you cannot pay on the buses by your phone using your card. You can buy a physical ticket, but you must have the exact money they need for the bus. That's another thing to mention. On Sundays, I find this so amazing. They didn't do this in Sydney, definitely not in the UK. But Sundays, you get free travel on the train, ferries, and the buses, free of charge. So it's a great time to, if you want to explore around, do your exploring on a Sunday. Also to mention, in Joondalup they have the same thing. I haven't been to Joondalup, but I do know they do have CAT buses there, so that makes like cost of living when it comes to getting around the place a little bit easier, especially when you're in the city area. There's buses everywhere. I have spoken about housing a little bit, but just to add some more additional points, if you're coming from the UK, leave on good terms with your landlord. You need that rental reference for when you're getting your own rental property. You do get a good reference from your landlord. Make sure you've paid up all your bills and everything before, because they will contact them. Have your rental profiles prepared and ready to go as soon as you go to an inspection. If you like the place, apply for it straight away. If you have everything already filled out before you go, brilliant, because it is very hard. I remember there was this place that I was accepted for, but it was just straight trash. Initially they rejected me because someone put in their application maybe a day before me, and they were like, oh, we would have accepted you, but this person put in the application before you. So that's one thing just to mention. If you like a property, apply for it before you even leave. In terms of general living, I do enjoy living out here. It is a little bit more slower paced compared to Sydney and the UK. It's a very relaxed atmosphere. Everyone's just proper chilled. These are the people that I've met. I'm not speaking for every single place. I live in Perth. That's all I'm going to say. It's a very chilled, slow paced, relaxed atmosphere. One thing that I've noticed is that coffee places, restaurants, they close by like 2, some places, before anyone comes to me, some places close at like 1 or 2. Some places are not open over the weekend, so that's a little bit of a little thing to mention. One thing that I absolutely love is you get paid for recycling. Major incentive. You get 10 cents for every bottle you recycle, and it does add up. If you buy a lot of drinks, bottled water, anything like that, you do get your money back. So there's a massive incentive when it comes to recycling. I see people a lot more often now here. I saw it a lot in Sydney, but here people are going around checking all the bins. I mean, you do you. I don't think I would be able to do that, but I definitely do recycle a lot more out here. There's an incentive to do it. I'm going to get into some of the negatives and some of the positive things that I've found about living here. Let's start on a positive note. First, the weather is beautiful. It does get really hot. I haven't experienced the 40 degrees yet, but I've experienced 30 degrees, 20s, 25s. It's been great. And there has been rain. If anyone says that it's always sunny here, that's not the truth. But it's not always cold. It's cold in the mornings, cold in the evenings, but just wrap up, keep warm. That's all you have to do. Be sun smart. That is one thing. Have your have your factor 50 sunscreen ready, your sunnies, which I learned was sunglasses, your hats and everything. Have that if you're coming to WA because it gets hot. The only good thing is it's not a humid heat. It's a nice dry heat. So if you have a swimming pool like I do, or you live nearby the beach, brilliant. Just don't go to the beach when it's 40 degrees between 10 and 2 o'clock because you will burn. The next thing, I wouldn't really class it as a negative, but more of like a character building moment, which would be changes in my role. So my role is a little bit different out here, and getting to grips with how things are, different names for a lot of things. Australians love to shorten everything, and it really confuses me sometimes. So it's just me getting used to the whole new working environment. I'm not complaining because I absolutely love the type of life that I have now within my professional life compared to what I had in the UK. There's definitely a lot less stress. There's a focus on work-life balance. I get paid a lot more. So I'm actually really grateful to go from a very difficult working environment, quite toxic, to a now more mellowed out. It was a shock to the system when I got here. I was like, oh, wow, this is different, but it's a good difference. Cost of living is high, but I feel like it's proportionate to how much you get paid or how much I get paid. So it's not as difficult as it would be where you live paycheck to paycheck. I can survive on just working my normal 76 hours every 2 weeks. So getting to the end of this video, I'm going to talk about some of the things that people told me before I moved to Australia that were just not true. That was just not true. People would say to me, why do you want to move to Australia? There's spiders, there's so many things that can kill you. But in the 6 months that I've been here, the most annoying thing that I've seen is flies and mosquitoes. Not so much mosquitoes here. When I was in Sydney, I think this was around February, March time, I got bit by so many mosquitoes. I just woke up with bumps everywhere. But that's the only thing. I haven't seen a snake. I've seen spiders, but no snakes. Another thing would be it's always sunny here. It's not. A lot of Australians are actually grateful that there's some rain, and honestly it rains, but it just rains so sporadically, and it's not even like freezing cold. It does rain, like heavy rain, but it's nice. I don't mind the rain. So to wrap this up, my transition was difficult, but I don't think I would ever regret moving here because I absolutely love it. It has its difficulties like every other place that you go to. You really have to take time to adjust to a different way of living if you've come from a very big, busy, bustling, busy place. So yes, that was an adjustment for me, but I love the slow-paced life. It's exactly what I feel like I needed in this point in my life to just, you know, start again, have a fresh start, find the new me within a new city, new country. Social media, everyone does hype this place up, and I understand why. There is a lot of benefits to living here. It also comes with its difficulties, such as housing, cost of living, getting around, getting used to the hot weather. It is a lot, but you have to make the most of your experiences. And this is the end of this video. I'll see you guys later.